Hi cinema fans, welcome back. So with the Penguin show dropping next month, I started to wonder what I could do in honor of the Penguin show releasing next month, and I was like, what the hell, let's do a ranking of all the theatrical releases for Batman films. And then I asked myself, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And then I realized I've never done a S tier ranking. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I know, that was very cringy, but let's get into it. Now, the only film I will not be including is the 2016 Suicide Squad. And yes, I know that Ben Affleck Batman had a cameo in that film, but it really wasn't a big enough, part in the film. And also, there was no character arc. He just showed up to stop Harley and Joker. Compared to a movie like The Flash, where, you had two Batmans, Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton. Well, technically, you also had George Clooney, but that's a whole nother conversation. But they were more a part of the film. They were very integral to the plot of The Flash. So, yeah, there's a big difference. So let's get into it. First, starting off is the Adam West Batman the movie. Now, to make it clear, there was a theatrical release for Batman the movie. It wasn't on a bigger grand scale like, Batman 89, but, it still had a theater release. But you know what? I remember as a kid watching this on VHS and just watching it with amaze, even though there were so many other great Batman films at the time when I was a kid, like Batman 89, Batman Returns, Mask of the Phantasm. But, as a kid, I loved the hell out of this film. Was it cringy? Was it campy? But also, you got to consider the time this film was made. But with that said, with all the other films that are on this list, I have to put this film on the D spot. Pause. Speaking of Batman 89, that's next on our list. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say I'm biased for putting this on a certain spot on the C tier list, but you know what? This film was a classic. Yes, there is a lot of corny, cringy moments, not as bad as the Batman movie from the 60s, but you know what? It had a nice flavor of Tim Burton, but also Frank Miller, but also more of the 70s Batman era. But, it was a turn for Batman films and also just Batman love in general for fans alike. I mean, you had Jack Nicholson as Joker. I mean, come on, that makes this film an automatic peak. And what Michael Keaton was able to deliver as Batman was just astonishing, and I loved it. So with all that said, I had to place Batman 89 on the S spot. I know, that's a crazy placement for this movie, but I don't care, get over it. So next on our list, we got Batman Returns. Now, I know a lot of you fans are going to be like, obviously this is going to be on the S spot. Just like I mentioned that the Batman 60s film I watched on VHS repeatedly, I also was watching Batman Returns repeatedly on VHS. I absolutely love this film. I love how this film went more darker, took what was already established in the first Batman movie with Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, and the dark, beautiful noir to it. They took that and made it more darker, even though the backlash that it had for the first film, they went even further with this film. And obviously there was a big backlash because, look, obviously you got Batman Forever and Batman Robin. We'll get to those. But this film, I absolutely love. I love it dear to my heart. But, I still put the first Batman 89 at the top. But I have to put this on the A spot. And look, again, I love this film. I absolutely love it. But, when it comes to this film, I feel like the villains, the Penguin, and also Catwoman had more of a screen time, more of a character arc than actual Batman himself and Bruce Wayne. It was there, but it wasn't as nuanced as it was or compelling as it was in the first film. So I have to put this at the A spot. Okay, moving on. Next up, we got Batman Forever. Okay, here's the thing. Is it a great Batman film? No. Is it the worst Batman film? No. It's very low, but you know, it's more of a guilty pleasure. There is a lot of issues. I mean, they made Two-Face basically Joker. Jim Carrey's Riddler, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But, you know, I mean, for the characterization or what they were trying to do with Bruce Wayne in this film, even though the director didn't get to really see out his vision for the film and what he wanted to do with Bruce Wayne and more of a character study. But, you know, this film ended up being more of a, you know, a kid, family-friendly toy commercial. I mean, there's a lot of quotes in this film, just like there is a lot of quotes in the Batman and Robin film, which, anyway. But, you know, it's a guilty pleasure for me. I really, truly do love watching this film. There's a lot of great moments in the film, a lot of action, great action, I think. But with all that said, I have to place this film at the C spot. And to be honest with you, I think that's a very respectful placement for the movie. Next on our list is Batman and Robin. You go on the E spot. Do I even have to explain myself? Okay, in recent years, a lot of people have told me that this film is very nostalgic to them, and they still enjoy this film. I can't fathom why, but you know what? To the people that, for some reason, love this film, no hate towards you. If you like this film, kudos to you. I'm happy for you, but this film, if it could go lower, I would put it lower. But I will say this, just like Kevin Feige said, that if it wasn't for this film, none of the other comic book films would have never taken the new direction to make more grounded, serious comic book films. So that's the only respect or kudos I would give to the film. But anyways, next on our list, Batman Mask of the Phantasm. On our list is Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Unlike Batman and Robin, this film is an absolute masterpiece of a Batman film. Is it animated? Yes, but that doesn't hurt anything for this film. This movie is connected to the 90s Batman animated series, another peak animated series, by the way. This film is just an absolute masterpiece across the board, from the storytelling, the voice acting, to the score, to the delivery, to the villains, to the noir aspect that they have from the 90s animated series. They brought into this film the look and feel of Gotham, the chemistry between Bruce and the chick that the romance he has with the chick that ends up being, well, I don't want to spoil it for you, but this film was just an absolute masterpiece. And, you know, I honestly, if it wasn't for another film that I will say is probably my number one Batman film, this would be my number one. So it's obvious where I'm going to put this one at, and that's going to be the S tier. Next on our list, Batman Begins. Now, just like Batman Forever, where it's a guilty pleasure, this is also a guilty pleasure. But you know what? I wouldn't even say it that, because this film is just an absolute masterpiece. This film is obviously adapting the Batman Year One story, which is a 4-part issue miniseries for Batman, which is just the legendary run for Batman. Also done by Frank Miller. I mean, this whole trilogy is a masterpiece, and each film is just a masterpiece. But, you know, I love Batman Begins because simply there's something about it that kind of speaks to me in my personal life and my past, and something about it I can really relate to Bruce Wayne and Batman more than any other Batman iteration from all the other films, except for one that we'll talk about later. But I'm going to have to put this film, obviously, on the S spot. Next on our list is The Dark Knight. I mean, it's pretty obvious this is going to go on the S spot, but you know, I absolutely think this film is just more than a masterpiece. I think it's a standard for comic book films and Batman films, even though I feel like one of the other films that I'm going to put as my number one of all time, I think we all know where we're going with this, but this film set a standard for all comic book films and what comic book films could be. I mean, Batman Begins does that as well, but this one really just drives it home and just shows what you can do when you take the source material and the writing and the filmmaking really seriously, and not treating comic book properties like toys and commercials or games and whatnot. Like, if you actually take it seriously and adapt these very grounded, rich comic book stories and adapt them to the live action silver screen, then you'll get a masterpiece like The Dark Knight. And also, of course, you get the amazing performance by Heath Ledger as Joker. I mean, all across the board, amazing. No, scratch that. Across the board, a masterpiece. The highest standard for cinematic comic book films. So with that said, The Dark Knight goes on the S spot. Next on our list is The Dark Knight Rises. Now, would I place this last in my ranking of the trilogy? Yes. But you know what? From the score and also the message that this movie is trying to bring about, and also how they were, you know, able to wrap it all up into one beautiful trilogy, and, you know, Bane, and them honestly doing justice for the Bane character. I mean, what they did with Batman and Robin was just horrendously bad, but also Catwoman. And, you know, granted, I think, you know, the Batman years later did a great job with Catwoman and did something different with it, and honestly gave the character more compelling nuance to her character. But this film, I feel like, really gave a different chance, or a second chance, for Catwoman. And you know, even though Batman took more of a backstep, it was more of a Bruce Wayne film than a Batman film. But I still love what this film was trying to do and the things they set up. And honestly, this film changed everything for all the characters all across the board. But with all that said, I have to place this film at the A spot. But that does not take anything away from this film and what this film does for the comic book industry, the comic book film industry, and, you know, wrapping it all up together, making this trilogy a masterpiece and, you know, a standard for comic book films altogether. The reason why I put the Lego Movie into this list is because Batman does play a role in this film, and this film, again, you know, done by the creators of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse. This film, you know, as much as it is a kid film, it really has such a compelling message and story that it's trying to bring across, or trying to convey to the audience, to little kids, to adults. This film can be enjoyed by adults and kids alike, and I love what they do with this film, and also bring a different, interesting take to the Batman character and evolving him into later on getting his own solo Lego Batman film, which we'll talk about. And, you know, I adore this film, and, you know, I love this film, so I have to place this film at beautifully on the A spot. So there's two different versions we're going to do for this film: the theatrical cut, but also the ultimate cut, or the ultimate edition. I think the theatrical cut really hurts this film altogether compared to what they do in the ultimate edition. And, you know, it takes away so much important moments in this film that, you know, really hurt the character arcs for Batman, Superman, and other characters, and actually making things not make any sense. So, you know, I have to place this film at the C spot, because, you know, just like Batman Forever, you know, it's still a guilty pleasure film. Now, granted, I'd rather watch the Ultimate Edition over this film, but I mean, this film had some great moments, but it does a disservice to the film when you cut out certain parts in the film that are extremely important for the character arcs and for them to evolve, and really evolving the story as a whole. When you cut out certain parts that really make the story feel more chopped up and more of a product of movie studio interference. But that brings us to the next on our list: Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. And what this Ultimate Edition does is basically put those certain moments and scenes that help the character arcs and evolve the story and make the story more compelling, and let it to breathe more, and just give the message or give the vision that Zack Snyder was trying to give for this film. And I absolutely love this film. Is it above a lot of the other films I have higher? No, but you know what? It's a great film to really just turn your brain off and just, you know, enjoy a comic book film, you know. And it's just, the score alone, again, the score is just a masterpiece. I mean, it elevates the film 10 times more. But yeah, I'm going to have to place this film I'm going to have to personally put this film on the A spot, because just like those other films on the A spot, this film just moves me in such a way that it just hooks me in from the start. Up next is the Joss Whedon 2017 Justice League. And look, man, all I can say is, just like I said for the theatrical cut for BVS, it seems like a product of, studio interference. And yes, I know the history of what went down while making this film. And, all I know is that when I walked out the theater, I was very frustrated. Got very frustrated. This is the first real live action DC team up film that we've been waiting for ever since the first Avengers film dropped for Marvel. So I was very, very disappointed about this film. And, I refuse to this day to ever get a physical copy of this film. I'd rather get the Zack Snyder cut than this piece of crap. The only reason why I put this at the C spot is because, just like the theatrical cut and also Batman Forever, it's a nice watch, but it's a fun watch to, again, turn your brain off, throw on the film, and just, escape a couple hours. But it just, honestly, I don't even know why I put it at the C spot. I would honestly put it at the D spot, but, pause. But yeah, that film was a mess. Now, to cleanse my palate of talking about that absolute garbage of a film, the Lego Batman movie, the next on our list, and I absolutely love this film. What they did for the Lego movie and the different perspective of the Lego Batman, they bring it here for this solo outing, and I absolutely adore this film. I mean, yes, it's a kid friendly. It's but there's so many great, even though it's a lot of jokes, a lot of, again, it's a kid movie, but the story itself, the message that it's trying to bring about is honestly something they haven't done yet for a live action Batman film, is that really Batman really isn't anything without his Bat family, and they make that very clear in this film. And I absolutely love that they brought that message to the big screen in a kid film like this. And I absolutely love and adore this film. And there's so much more I can talk about. The song selection, the score, the action, the animation, the writing, all of it, the message. I love this film altogether. So with that being said, I'm going to have to place it at the A spot. Next on our list is Lego Movie 2, the second part. Look, man, this film was a bit of a letdown, just like the Justice League film. Did it have some great moments? Yes, but overall, comparing it to the first Lego movie and even the Batman solo Lego movie, it's just not worth it. So I'm going to have to place it on the D spot. Pause. Next on our list is Zack Snyder's Justice League. Even though this film is a big director's cut, like 4 hours long, I believe, and it's Zack Snyder's vision of Justice League. And usually films like that, I don't try to compare this one to other films that actually had a theatrical release and were actually really good. So, but for it being what it was and what this film was trying to deliver, and allowing Zack Snyder to really, get some sort of closure for his time as, making DC films and whatnot, I absolutely think this film was a great payoff to Zack Snyder fans, DC fans, and just Zack Snyder himself. So I'm going to have to place this film at. And also, before I say anything, like the whole Flash scene and the Superman scene were just the ultimate awesome masterpiece, epic moments in this film. I would put those right next to the Avengers Endgame portal scene. But again, let me place this at the A spot, and I think that's pretty fair. Now, personally, this is my favorite Batman film of all time. Now, granted, sometimes I put Mask of the Phantasm higher than the Batman if I had a recent rewatch, but that just goes to show that both of those films and this film was just a masterpiece, and what they were able to do with this film and the world of Batman, and bringing back the dark noir feel of it, but more of a modern tone to it, which also bring in some of the actual Frank Miller and, the Long Halloween vibes to it, and, even Batman Year One. A lot of this was just, I love this film, the feel of it, the score was just, it's still on repeat till this day for me. I love it. This film, just everything about it. Got to have an early screening got to go see it with one of my best friends, Caleb, and it was just a moment of my life that I love and cherish to the bottom of my heart, and I love this film. And you know what they were able to do with the Riddler villain Riddler, even though what they did in Batman Forever was just a horrible mistake. They just, again, just like Dark Knight Rises, they give this villain a new second chance and more nuance and compelling character arc to the Riddler and Batman and Catwoman and Penguin. And again, this film across the board was just amazing, a masterpiece of all cinema alike when it comes to Batman films. So obviously I'm placing this film on the S spot. And last on our list, we got The Flash. Okay, look, if you see my review on TikTok, you know that, I had a back and forth when it comes to reviewing this film. Originally it was lower, then I went to go see it a couple other times. It went a bit higher. I think it's at a 7 out of 10 for me at this point. I mean, there's great moments in there, which honestly, the only great moments that I really love about this film is the Batman moments with Michael Keaton, Batman, also Ben Affleck's Batman. So, yeah, the great moments are the Batman moments, and there's some little moments for the Flash and Barry and his mother in that last scene where he has to let his mother, sacrifice. I don't want to spoil it for y'all, but there are some great moments in this film and just a lot of the Batman moments. So I'm going to have to place this film at the B spot. So that does it for my ranking of Batman films. But tell me your ranking in the comments, like this video, and subscribe to more. Peace.